better prepared for a virus like this one.
Neighbor Island officials say they're doing everything in their power to inform and protect their communities. That includes issuing citations and even arresting those who disobey the order.
Kauai isn't messing around. They arrested a 62-year-old Florida man for violating the mandatory 14-day quarantine order.
There's definitely a lot less people out and about. Traffic is less, especially in the morning and evening rush.
Wauwatosa Police Captain Brian Zalewski says for the most part, people seem to be complying with the state's safer-at-home order.
There are a lot of exceptions that do allow people to leave their houses. In fact, they're encouraged to get out and to walk and to exercise and to do things as long as they're complying with social distancing.
Willful violations of the order could result in a $1,000 fine now. That's a new piece that was introduced last night. Then there's the 90 days in jail, and for maybe more for businesses, there's the referral to licensing agencies.
That's right. You could soon pay a steep price if you're not staying at least 6 feet away. Mayor Marty Walsh says he's still seeing too many people grouping together. Stricter guidelines are possible for places like parks and stores. The mayor says he just doesn't want to start issuing fines, but it could happen.
More and more people are now getting cited for hanging out at the beach. On Maui, officers issuing citations to people laying out at Napili Bay. Fines for violating the stay-at-home order are up to $5,000 or 1 year in jail. Anyone cited for violating the stay-at-home order will also have to appear in court and explain to a judge their reasoning for being out during an emergency proclamation.
Cities right across this country are cracking down increasingly on anyone who does not practice physical distancing. Particularly now, and this was the warning from Ontario Premier Doug Ford on Friday, the weather's getting so nice and many more people want to be outdoors. Over the weekend, very much the case, and many people are certainly following the rules, keeping that 6 feet, 2 meter distance, but others clearly are not.
They're not listening. Hundreds warned just yesterday. From lining up outside liquor stores to crowding city parks, some Chicagoans aren't taking the stay-at-home order seriously. So now the city is cracking down.
345 groups broken up. 2 men arrested for disorderly conduct and failure to obey a lawful order to disperse. That's how Chicago police enforced the stay-at-home order across the city just yesterday. 30 of those groups broken up. In this district, 12.
Any other day, Frisbee in Boulder's Chautauqua Park isn't unusual. But at this moment, these guys are breaking the law.
Tonight, a national controversy is brewing over arrests at a Charlotte protest. We told you over the weekend, 8 people were arrested for violating the stay-at-home order. They were outside of a Charlotte women's clinic.
Police told them they will continue to come out here and enforce those stay-at-home orders if they gather in groups of more than 10 here. It's been a relatively quiet Monday on Latrobe Drive. A handful of demonstrators and no police in sight. But Saturday, CMPD arrested 8 people.
In Denver, there is an enforcement team intervening with groups of people breaking the stay-at-home order. We will learn what, if any, citations they handed out for the weekend on Monday.
Stores like Walmart and Target are 2 of the last remaining mega retailers open for you to shop at. And this is the first weekend both stores have made changes to their policies, trying to make you feel safer as you shop. At Walmart, 1 entrance is closed, funneling customers through 1 area. The company will allow roughly 20% of the store's capacity, and then it's 1 in and 1 out.
It does appear that people are maintaining a proper distance and trying to make attempts to do so.
At Target, they're also watching how many people enter the store and have markers on the floor promoting social distancing as you check out.
Well, attention Walmart shoppers. Some big changes are coming to the area's biggest retailer. Walmart will start keeping count and limit the number of customers that come through its doors.
Turning to the province of Quebec, where we await a court appearance in the province today for a young man who's been charged after a security guard at a Walmart store in Sherbrooke was hit by a vehicle over the weekend. The guard in enforcing physical distancing.
And it was Saturday when the 25-year-old suspect showed up at the Walmart with his girlfriend, or his partner anyway, to go shopping. The security guard was standing outside saying only one person per vehicle can come inside the store. It's, to keep people apart. It's been going on in several stores across the country. Well, the customer didn't like that. He got back into his vehicle and eventually, according to police, targeted the security guard and ran him down with his vehicle. Police say the security guard was actually on the hood. The driver made a maneuver and the man fell off the hood, smashed his head on the asphalt, and now he's in hospital he was in critical but stable condition, apparently breathing on his own, but really in rough shape.
Juan, Sharon, this is all happening out here in the Port of Los Angeles. There's the Mercy right there. Yesterday, this came out as a train derailment. It came out as an accident. Today, we're learning something a lot more nefarious going on out here. There's that locomotive basically ran off the end of the tracks, almost making it over towards the Mercy. Very, very close indeed. Now, a California Highway Patrol officer actually witnessed the accident and saw the locomotive's engineer running from the scene. He was taken into custody yesterday, but today, he started talking about how he was trying to make his way to the Mercy to damage it, to let people know what's really going on the ship.
On the point about the 5G masts, thank you again for mentioning. The stories somehow got about that they play a role in the spread of the disease. That's just nonsense, dangerous nonsense as well. And I'll hand over to Steve to say a little bit more about the vital importance of knocking down this rubbish.
So the 5G story is complete and utter rubbish. It's nonsense. It's the worst kind of fake news. The reality is that the mobile phone networks are absolutely critical to all of us, particularly in a time when we are asking people to stay at home and to not see relatives and friends. But in particular, those are also the phone networks that are used by our emergency services and our health workers. And I'm absolutely outraged, absolutely disgusted that people would be taking action against the very infrastructure that we need to respond to this health emergency. It is absolute and utter rubbish.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's breaking news today, a couple of reports from a couple different outlets.
His hair is like yellowish orange, just done a few days ago, and now his hair is gray as can be.
Jared Kushner's team is seeking to create a national coronavirus database, a tracking system for patients who've been diagnosed. Now, his spokesperson said that that's not true.
Yeah, it's not. I have never heard about it. Doesn't sound like a bad idea, actually, but I have not heard about that.
Be okay with it if it...
I don't know if I'd be okay. I have to see it, but it sounds very scientific, and it sounds like it could be good based on tracking.
The governor's orders shutting down non-essential businesses and telling people to remain in their homes may seem like martial law.
In a time of pandemic, the government may expand its control over individuals to serve the greater good. But what about the danger to civil liberties and finding a balance? They say this: too often, fears aroused by disease and epidemics have justified abuses of state power. Highly discriminatory and forcible vaccination and quarantine measures adopted in response to outbreaks of the plague and smallpox over the past century have consistently accelerated rather than slowed the spread of disease while fomenting public distrust and, in some cases, riots.
If you spent any time online, you've seen the rumors about whether martial law is coming. But is that something that could actually happen here?
I am not calling for martial law. That is a rumor, and that is false.
Last week, Dr. Michael Ryan, he's a leader at the World Health Organization, announced that in response to the spread of this virus, authorities may have to enter people's homes and remove family members, presumably by force.
I heard that.
In most parts of the world, due to lockdown, most of the transmission that's actually happening in many countries now is happening in the household, at family level. In some senses, transmission has been taken off the streets and pushed back into family units. Now we need to go and look in families to find those people who may be sick and remove them and isolate them in a safe and dignified manner.
Medical martial law is now in effect on the Red Lake Indian Reservation. Only essential travel is allowed, and a 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew remains in effect. Also today, Chairman Darrell Seekey Sr. announced individuals cannot enter the reservation to visit or to pass through. Semi-trucks can pass through, but unscheduled stops can lead to penalties. Semis can also enter the reservation to deliver food.
Laredo, Texas is now requiring residents to cover their nose and mouth when going out in public or face a fine up to $1,000. Starting today, all people in Laredo over 5 years old will have to wear.
And now, as of today, it's in New York and Connecticut as well. It was just passed. It's a legislative law.
Or something such as a homemade mask, scarf, bandana, or handkerchief when entering a building open to the public. People will also have to cover their mouth and nose when using public transportation, taxis, ride shares, or even when pumping gas.
Those who don't comply with the order could face a fine of up to $1,000, and they can also be arrested. The city of Laredo also has a curfew now. Non-essential workers cannot be out between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m.
Today, the Montana National Guard started screening people at airports and rail stations across the state under an order from Governor Steve Bullock. 73 soldiers and airmen were activated to screen travelers, include a temperature check and a couple of questions. The Great Falls International Airport tells us they believe this is what...
Who talks about the military and stuff like that as being activated? It sounds like they're activating some type of robot or activating... I don't know. Using the word activate is something, just like they said, it wasn't Trump's role, like he's a crisis actor.
They need to do right now.
Now, in response to the growing number of coronavirus cases, Governor Sisolak activated the Nevada National Guard. Now, this morning, we're getting a better idea on what exactly the role will be that they'll play.
Kalina, some of the guardsmen who will help us during the pandemic might have signed up in a recruitment office, just like this one behind me right here on Silverado Ranch. Now, military officials say the guardsmen have always been a part of our community. They're just going to be more visible in the coming days.
This week, Governor Sisolak activated the Nevada National Guard to help with the state's COVID-19 response, and ever since, we've been getting a lot of questions asking, what does this mean? Is this martial law?
I was part of a team that did the baseline training on pandemic preparedness for the military command that's responsible for North America, and I've also done major exercises in Las Vegas on huge biological attacks. They've been looking at this for a very long time, well over 20 years. There are plans on what to do.
The governor activated the National Guard, but has not handed over law enforcement duties or powers to the Nevada National Guard. That would be martial law.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, we have been seeing that.
Commissioner Clapper told 22 News that the department is down about 20 officers after one tested positive for COVID-19 and 12 others are waiting for test results. She said the other currently off-duty officers have health concerns that make working during the pandemic challenging and others are in self-quarantine after coming into contact with someone with COVID-19. The National Guard's people will be armed and under the direction of the police commissioner. Clapper says she hopes that their appearance will be calming as they help the department feel any help that they need during this pandemic.
I will not hesitate. My orders are sa police pati military, pati mga barangay, na pagka ginulo at nagkaroon ng okasyon na lumaban at ang buhay ninyo ay nalagay sa alanganin, shoot them dead.
China has a responsibility to get correct figures. How would you broadly characterize cooperation with China right now?
Lots of places we've been cooperating, right? They're providing us assistance where we need it. There are places on the ground now where we do have access to the data we need, and we're deeply appreciative of that. They've said they want to cooperate. We're completely prepared to cooperate with them. That cooperation means sharing data, being transparent, being upfront, allowing information to flow freely. That's our expectation, not just of China, though, of every country that is in this place today. Collectively, we have to work our way through this, and to do that, you have to have really good data.
Well, the man who helped start Microsoft says he wants to devote more time to helping others. Bill Gates has announced he's resigning from the board of the tech giant he co-founded 4 decades ago. He's also leaving his board post at Berkshire Hathaway. The Gates Foundation has pledged $100 million to fight the coronavirus. Well,
this is just disturbing to hear. Dr. Anthony Fauci, a key member, you might even say the leader of the White House coronavirus task force on many days, he is now facing death threats.
We couldn't believe it when we learned about this. He's been forced to beef up his security detail following growing concerns for his safety.
Dr. Fauci is going to get, if he doesn't already have, a security detail of more than a half-dozen federal agents.
He doesn't need security. Everybody loves him. Says that they'd be in big trouble if they ever attack.
The USS Theodore Roosevelt's commanding officer has been relieved of duty by the Navy.
Hours after the acting Navy secretary fired Captain Brett Crozier, hundreds of crew members gathered on the USS Roosevelt's hangar bay to give him a roaring send-off, chanting his name. It appears the crew is ignoring guidelines to social distance to send a message of protest to top Navy brass for firing their skipper, who sounded alarm bells about the rising number of coronavirus cases on his ship, forced to arrive in Guam a week early.
Organizations have to work. They have to deliver the outcomes for which they were intended. And we need to make sure that not only the World Health Organization, but every international organization, that we take taxpayer money and give it to them for the benefit of America. We need to make sure it's delivering on those taxpayer dollars. The World Health Organization is no different in that respect. They have to execute on the mission that they are designed to achieve. And we've seen, with respect to the World Health Organization, here we are. It hasn't accomplished what it was intended to deliver.
Well, it's not surprising. I've been studying communist China my whole life in the military. I've never trusted a communist, and their cover-up of this virus that originated with them has caused unnecessary deaths around America and the world. So this report is not surprising at all. They need to come clean. And another piece of this is the WHO needs to stop covering for them. I think Dr. Tedros needs to step down. We need to take some action to address this issue.
The focus of all political parties should be to save their people. Please don't politicize this virus.
There are some learnings we can take out